Good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? If you need exposition in a science fiction setting, you can't go wrong with the simple, reliable view screen. And, what do you know, Starcraft 2 already has them. Alright, good tutorial everybody, till next time. So yeah, there are plenty of these things in campaign cutscenes, but what about our own? Well, as with most things I've covered, it's actually pretty easy. It just requires a handful of steps and some creative thinking. Start by building yourself a little monitor thing. I'm making this one big to show stuff off more easily, but this whole thing scales just fine. Make sure to have a back to all this, something plain. I like using these Zelnaga wall panels squished down, but you know what you want. An important thing to keep in mind is you want to give yourself a little room to expand this whole thing if you'll need to. You'll see why. Then choose something to be your screen. I typically use this blue force field and set its animation speed way down in the Models Animation tab in the data editor, but there are a couple other ones that do similar things. Then just take this screen and put it inside the little monitor area you've built. If you're a frequent viewer, the next step should sound familiar. In the unit browser, change the unit type dropdown to shape and pick something you like. Then, in the data editor, change that shape's model to your pick of the portrait models. Then it's time to squish them. In the scale fields, set both your maximum and minimum to something that matches however big you made your screen area, but set the Y coordinate value real low. You want this thing flat. Then, just stick your portrait model between the back of the screen and the force field, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And if you'll just allow me to interrupt me for a real quick second here, I'm leaving this in so you can see that while it is pretty straightforward as far as the steps taken and all that, the actual adjustment phase is pretty involved, rotating and getting the scale of certain things correct, figuring out the exact placement. Expect to just have to feel a lot of this out. It's not precise, nothing in this editor ever is, but it's all, again, simple steps. You just have to figure out which ones work for you. And what you're seeing me do here is remember that the portrait model needs to go inside the force field, otherwise the two halves will be too difficult to see through. As a final touch, you can put a light omni or two that match the color of your screen so it looks like it's casting light. From here, turning the screen on and off is a fun little effect that just uses a couple of simple trigger actions. First, create a region around your entire monitor and name it something you'll remember. I'll move forward under the assumption that you want this screen to start off and then turn on, so if you want it a different way, I trust you to figure out what to do differently. For the first part, you can either add these events to the default map initialization trigger, or make another that also fires when the map starts. Either way, create the action Show Hide Doodads in Region, choose Hide, search for and select the doodad you are using, and then select the region you made earlier. Then duplicate it and change the selected doodad to the light omni you're using. Finally, add a Show Hide Unit action, and choose to hide our shape. Then set up a new trigger, set your inciting event, medic enters disk, you know how it goes, and just copy and paste your Show Hide actions from before, but choose Show. It's literally that simple. You can even have multiple portraits stacked up here and just selectively show and hide each one if you want a more involved conversation. Now, I know what you're going to ask. Is there a way to get the portraits to animate? Like if you had actual voice files and wanted to hook them up to the lip sync, or just do a generic lip flap if you have text to display? And the answer is provably yes. Custom campaigns do it all the time. I just don't know how. I've poked at it a little bit, but I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong path chasing bad solutions. If I had to make some sort of statement, I'd guess that the process is a little different because we're basically cheating this portrait model onto the map where it usually isn't, so it's not hooked up to the same things it usually is, just as a UI element that can be called whenever. The good news is, a lot of really cool people have been showing up in the comments of these things and offering answers to things I don't know or haven't done correctly. If someone knows how to animate an apple that got turned into a Marine's portrait, please chime in. I'll pin your comment and we can count this mystery solved. Alright, till next time.